Welcome to another edition of Badger Beat. We're going to take a look at the UW men's basketball team here with Jim Polzine. I'm Adam Mertz of the State Journal and madison.com. Jim, big game this week. Badgers at Michigan State. This rivalry always seems to have twists and turns. You saw it last year, the game there. Recently, with the three-pointer that wasn't by Ryan Evans. You had a chance to look back at that game. Walk us through everything that kind of sticks with you still heading into this matchup.
Yeah, I think people will remember that game for Ryan Evans' shot that the officials went back and looked it over and determined that he got it off too late. Had he made that, had they counted it, the game goes to double overtime and who knows what happens. But I went back over and watched, and just there were so many things that I think UW looked back at and said, if this goes this way, we win that game. In the first half, they missed some bunnies. In the second half, Draymond Green picked up his fourth foul with about 9 minutes to go and sat for the next 5 or 6 minutes, and Michigan State actually gained a couple points during that time. I just think there was, the other thing that stood out is Wisconsin's three-point shooting was awful that game. If one or two of those go down, it's a different game. And I know we're going to talk about the Big Ten race later, but that's, if you look at it now, you look at the standings, Wisconsin wins that one, it's them in first place, and Michigan State basically in fourth place now because there's one game separating the top four teams in the Big Ten. So that's kind of the way this league has been. It's a game of inches, and this year more than ever it's been that way.
Badgers coming off a big win at Minnesota. Jordan Taylor really took control of that game, and you mentioned that Tom Izzo, Michigan State coach, on the press conference today was saying it was a different-looking Jordan Taylor. Can you tell us what he meant by that?
Yeah, he was kind of referring to early in the season. He thought Jordan was, deferring, trying to get his teammates involved, and he didn't mean it as a bad thing. And Jordan's admitted this, that he kind of looked around to his teammates. He knew they had a young, relatively inexperienced team, and he wanted to get those guys involved. He thought it would be better for the team in March if he got them involved in November and December and kind of got their confidence up. So, I think Izzo was referring to that and maybe saw, as many of us saw, that Jordan wasn't really taking charge. In games he wasn't really the Jordan Taylor that people saw last year. Well, Izzo mentioned today that he thinks that Jordan Taylor's back. I think the game at Minnesota, was a big sign of that. And I think if you go back to the first meeting between these teams too, Taylor had 28 of Wisconsin's 60 points that game. It was really a game where he kind of took over. So, I think Izzo is kind of leery that the real Jordan Taylor's back just in time for a big game on Thursday in East Lansing.
This one, we talked a couple weeks ago about the Badgers maybe being out of the Big Ten race, and now the way that things have unfolded, they're kind of right back in on the fringe of this thing. This would be a big upset. They haven't fared well at the Breslin Center lately, but this one will kind of determine where things go in the race at large, won't it?
Yeah, if you want to handicap the race, you can ask one day and the next day they'll be completely different. I thought Ohio State had really separated itself from the pack. Then they go and lose at home to Michigan State. Now I think Michigan State probably has the best remaining schedule. They have Wisconsin at home. They have Ohio State at home to end the season. So on paper, I think it's Michigan State's title to lose. Wisconsin controls its own fate. If they win out from here, they win. They clinch at least a share of the title. Now that won't be easy. They have to go to Michigan State. They have to go to Ohio State. They have to go to Iowa, a team that's already beaten them this year. They have games against Illinois and Minnesota, which are on the NCAA tournament bubble. So it's not going to be easy. Ohio State, I'm interested to see how they bounce back from this. Michigan is suddenly a half game out of first place. Nobody's really talking about them. So I think it's going to be a great 3-week closing stretch, and not just for the title, but you have Indiana's probably in the tournament as of right now. They're fine, but you have Illinois, Northwestern, Minnesota. They all have work to do. So it's going to be an interesting 3 weeks, and then the Big Ten tournament in Indy should be interesting as always.
Logjam at the top. We'll have coverage throughout the week leading into the Michigan State game on Thursday night.